Welcome to this third part in the Rxindi tutorial series. In this video we'll go more in depth into the output statement, and show how we can use output for placing images, QR codes and for outputting text to a different text frame. To briefly recap what was shown in part 1 of this video series, the output statement takes the content in the data file for some field, and places it in the template document at the target location. So if a field called name contains John in the data, then when processing the template, that is what is output to the target. We now just mentioned target, but what does this mean exactly? Well, when outputting something, it needs to go somewhere. This somewhere is the target. As you might have seen in the quick reference, the output statement takes not one, but two arguments. The second of which is called target. This argument is optional, and up till now we haven't used it. If you do not specify a target, it will just output to the default location, which is either the current location in text or the current frame. For Rxindi statements in a running text, this is typically what you want to happen. When you explicitly specify a target, you always refer to a specific InDesign frame to output to. You refer to this frame by its frame name. Additionally, the type of the target frame will dictate how the output content is represented, as text, an image or a QR code. Don't worry if this does not quite land yet, we're going to show all of this step by step. First let's show how to output the name to a different text frame than the one that contains the statement. Let's add a second frame. Now, in order to reference it we need to give the frame a name. This is because, by default, frames are unnamed in InDesign. You can give a frame a name in the Layers panel by clicking and holding the frame name. The currently selected frame is indicated here with a marker. As this is standard InDesign functionality, please refer to the InDesign manual and online resources if you have questions on this. Let's name the frame customer name. Note that you can choose any name you like. Rxindi does not expect a specific convention. Now, all we need to do to make this work is set this frame as the target for the output statement. We do this by typing a comma to indicate a new parameter, and then the name of the frame we want to target. So, customer name. Let's save this and try it out. Nice. A couple of things to note. First of all, when outputting text to a target frame, this text is always appended to the end of existing content, so any text that is already there will not be replaced. Secondly, InDesign does not enforce unique names for frames, but if there are multiple frames with the same name, Rxindi will only output to the first one it encounters. As a best practice, it is recommended to always use unique target frame names in templates. Besides outputting text, Rxindi can also output images to a frame. For this to work, the element being referenced in the data file must contain a path to a file of an image type that is supported by InDesign. The path to the image can be absolute, or relative to the location of the data file itself. In your template, the only thing you need to do is make sure that the target frame referenced in the output statement is an image frame. Because in InDesign an image frame can only contain a single image, any existing image will always be replaced. This is in contrast to targeting text frames, to which text is always appended. Let's give this a try. We'll add a new image frame here, and give it a name. Let's call it logo. In the data file, there is a field called product logo, which contains a reference to a file called Rxindi logo.png, which for this example, is located in the same directory on disk as the data file. Now, we'll add a new output statement that takes this product logo and targets the logo frame. Let's generate. And there we go. Note that Rxindi respects any image placement properties you have set on the image frame. For instance, if you've defined that the image should scale proportionally, this will be used when the image is output to the frame. And, just to show that whether an image or text is placed is purely based on the type of target frame, let's change the logo frame type to be a text frame and see what happens if we process again. As you can see, now the name of the image file is output instead, as this is what is actually in the data file. Besides targeting image and text frames, you can also target a QR code frame. Now, in InDesign, QR codes do not have its own dedicated frame type. Instead, they are identified by there being a QR code image inside an image frame. So, in our template we should just add a QR code of the type we want. The actual data content of the QR code in the template is not relevant, as this will be replaced by the output statement. Let's add a QR code for the product website. We'll just use some dummy text here, as it will be replaced when processing the template document. Now we'll give the frame for the QR code a name of website. Finally, we'll add an output statement that targets it, and takes the data from the product website element in the data file. Process, and there we go. We'll leave it at that in this video. As you have seen, the output statement is simple to use, but provides a lot of power and flexibility. For more details, you can have a look at the Rxindi manual, link in the description. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.